Imagine waking up tomorrow and the price of gas has doubled overnight. Your grocery bill shoots up 40%. The stock market drops 1,000 points before noon. No financial crisis, no pandemic, just one thing. War broke out somewhere on the other side of the world. That's the power war has over the global economy. And today, we're going to break down exactly how it happens, from the battlefield to your bank account. I'm Cappi, and welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, we break down big economic topics in a way that actually makes sense. Let's get into it. The moment war breaks out, markets panic. And markets hate uncertainty more than almost anything else. Investors pull money out of stocks and rush into safe haven assets, things like gold, US Treasury bonds, and the Swiss franc. You'll see the stock market drop within hours of a major conflict being announced. We saw this with Russia's invasion of Ukraine in 2022. Global markets tumbled almost immediately. But here's what hits hardest and fastest: commodity prices. Wars disrupt the supply of critical resources: oil, natural gas, wheat, metals. If a conflict happens in a region that produces these things, supply drops and prices spike. Russia and Ukraine together supply a huge chunk of the world's wheat and sunflower oil. When that war started, food prices jumped globally, affecting people in countries that had nothing to do with the conflict. This is the first lesson of war and economics. No economy is an island. In our interconnected global system, war anywhere can mean economic pain everywhere. Now let's talk money. War is extraordinarily expensive. The US spent an estimated $2 trillion on the wars in Afghanistan and Iraq. Some economists, when you factor in long-term costs like veteran care and interest on debt, put the total closer to $8 trillion. Where does that money come from? Governments have three main options: raise taxes, cut spending elsewhere, or borrow money, which means going into debt. Most countries borrow, and borrowing on that scale has long-term consequences. It drives up national debt, increases interest payments, and can crowd out spending on things like infrastructure, education, and healthcare. There's also a concept called opportunity cost. The idea that money spent on weapons and soldiers is money not spent on schools, hospitals, and roads. Every dollar that goes into a tank is a dollar that didn't go into a community. Now here's where things get complicated. War is devastating for most of the economy, but it's a boom for the defense industry. Weapons manufacturers, defense contractors, cybersecurity firms, military technology companies. They all see massive increases in orders and revenue during wartime. Lockheed Martin, Raytheon, Northrop Grumman. Their stock prices often rise when conflicts escalate. This creates a controversial dynamic, sometimes called the military-industrial complex, where economic incentives can become intertwined with decisions about war and peace. It's also worth noting that historically, wartime production has sometimes stimulated economies. World War II famously pulled the United States out of the Great Depression, as massive government spending on the war effort created jobs and industrial output. But economists are quick to point out that same stimulus effect could have been achieved by building roads, schools, and hospitals without the destruction. Let's bring this closer to home. How does war actually affect you? The biggest way is through inflation. When energy prices spike because of a conflict in an oil-producing region, everything gets more expensive, because energy powers almost every part of the economy. Shipping costs go up, manufacturing costs go up, and those costs get passed on to you at the checkout counter. We saw this play out dramatically after 2022. The war in Ukraine contributed to a global inflation surge that central banks scrambled to fight by raising interest rates. Higher interest rates meant higher mortgage payments, more expensive car loans, and tighter credit for businesses. So even if you're thousands of miles from any conflict, war can mean higher prices at the pump, higher grocery bills, higher borrowing costs, and a more uncertain job market if businesses start pulling back investment. When the fighting eventually stops, the economic damage doesn't just disappear. Rebuilding a war-torn country is an enormous undertaking. Infrastructure, roads, bridges, power grids, hospitals, has to be rebuilt from scratch. That costs hundreds of billions, sometimes trillions of dollars. The reconstruction of Ukraine, for example, has been estimated to cost over $500 billion. This money can come from the country itself, from international aid, from global institutions like the World Bank, or from war reparations paid by the losing side, as happened with Germany after World War I. Though economists largely agree those harsh reparations